Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Stickbow Chronicles, brought to you by Blackwidow Bows. I'm pretty fired up. We just wrapped up Compton's virtual rendezvous. We did it on Facebook Live, so it was pretty cool. And yeah, they were announcing all the winners to the bow raffles and the arrow building and the scholarship winners. There was a whole bunch of stuff, and I got to say, my hat's off to everybody that was involved. Super cool, just to be a fly on the wall. I'm just facilitating, so sitting back watching everybody. It's pretty dang awesome. COVID really kind of hammered a lot of things in this country, and one of them being the Big Game Classic and the Rendezvous in Berrien Springs. So I gotta say, people, Compton's adapted and overcame the challenge, and my hat's off to everybody involved. Pretty cool. So, and they also announced the Big Game Classic for March of 2021. All the details are yet to be hammered out, but it's going to be over in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I, for one, am going to be there. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, great group of guys there that are running it. I had a lot of fun shooting the breeze with them, and I look forward to being there and seeing everybody. So before I go any further, I just want to say I'm a little taken back at the downloads that I get from Europe. If you're over there, you listen to the show, shoot me a message on Instagram or Facebook if you're there, or email me. Send me pictures. Let me know what you guys do, because I'm really shocked at how many downloads I get from over there. Interested. So yeah, give me a holler. This week's episode. That's right. Wasn't slated to be for a few more weeks, but the masses were getting angry. They wanted to hear Jake Down's story of his recent Alaskan brown bear hunt. Jake went over there and was able to notch his tag on a dandy brown bear, as well as a bushel basket full of black bears. And besides, it's a hoot hanging out with Jake and shooting the breeze with him. Guy just flat gets it done. So there you go. This week's episode, Jake Downs. Big shout out to our sponsors, Kifaru International, Selway Archery, The Footed Shaft, and of course Blackwidow Bows. Those guys support this show, and I hope you guys support them. Give them a shout. Say, hey, I like listening to Stickbow Chronicles. Thanks for hanging with them. That's all I got. Enjoy the show. Yeah, in the beginning of the podcast that I just released this week, I mentioned some frustrations with when kids get hunting age, right? So I had like 6 days to hunt or 7 days to hunt, and I think the last 2 or 3 I went and got the kid, and the best night of all, because the weather had been crappy. We get the best night of all. We're on stand for like an hour. He's like, "Dad, I'm bored. Let's go." I just want to cry. And I left my bow at home. When I picked him up, I purposely left my bow at home because I'm like, it's all about him. I don't want any distractions. And, "Dad, let's go." I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, mine. I'm not there yet. Mine aren't old enough to.
You got more than one?
No, I'm not. I do. Well, I just. We got we had a boy in March or right. End of February.
That's right. What's his name?
Yeah.
Jace. Nice.
Yeah. He's just eat, sleep, poop, and cry mostly.
Well, sounds like my life. That's
right.
That's what I do.
Me too.
So man, we're rolling.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you know my memory, so you'll have to lead.
Dude, I'm tired.
I promise. Well, this might be a dud of a podcast. Then I didn't bring any snacks in here though, so that's good.
I got some comments on the Ruffles chips. That was funnier than hell.
Oh.
Have you heard? Have you heard it?
I listened to it because I wanted to hear what everybody was talking about. It was loud.
Oh, I know.
15 feet away. Like,
You know, it's funny. Maybe we can make a Ruffles potato chip commercial out of that.
no kidding. It sounded like I had the phone like in my jaw, right up against my jaw.
I know and Snyder's still talking, and I'm just dying laughing. I'm like, are you eating potato chips?
Yeah, I thought I was getting away with something, but
that's good
no.
stuff. So, man, heck of a nice bear.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I've been home for a few days, and I don't think my wife so much likes to hear it, but I've been telling everybody, I'm like, man, if I was younger and single, I wouldn't have come back. I mean, I would have. They got a nice little apartment above their hangar. I just moved right in and just say, I'll just guide for you. I'll be your on-site electrician. I'm not leaving. I loved it there, man.
You were with Jonas Brothers? Jonas
Jonah Stewart. Yep. Jonah Stewart.
Jonas Brothers. I think that's a band.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's like a boy band. No, I was not with the Jonas Brothers. They might be like teen. They're like teen. Yeah, I don't know what they are, but
this is going to be good.
It's going to be a good one.
Oh,
you're going to be, I can't remember anything and you're going to be sleep deprived. So this will be a good one.
So Jonas.
Oh, man. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Who is it now? Jonas?
It's Jonah's Alaskan Adventures. Well, you know who Roy Roth is, don't you?
Oh yeah.
Or he's the guy that legendary bow hunter that Cam hunts with or used to hunt with. He died.
Yep.
He actually guided for Jonah. And do you know Harold Fernbrook?
Oh yeah, we've had him on the podcast. Yeah.
Yeah. He was actually my guide.
Cool.
Harold. Yeah, he's an awesome dude. I think me and him are cut from the same cloth as well. We got along pretty well. There was a lot of talk about all the craziness in the world and how we're not so much buying into all of it. And I mean, Alaska's it was kind of nutty, getting into Alaska. This hunt had a lot of what's that?
Because of the COVID thing, or because of the I don't know what you call it, the State of the Union,
the riots or whatever.
Yeah.
It was because of the COVID. They're taking stuff pretty serious up there, which I know it's a thing, and I don't want to get on that tangent because I've been talking about it for the last 3 days solid about how crazy it is. But it's crazy. So this hunt was really, I booked this, I want to say about 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, something like that. And so I've been paying on this thing and looking forward to it for forever. And I don't know, probably whenever this COVID thing struck up, and they shut everything down and they shut the residents down and everybody down in Alaska, I thought it was going to get postponed. And so then actually he said, it's probably postponed. We're going to hopefully wait till June and see, or maybe it was May. I can't remember what time goes by. I kind of forget things.
Sure.
But, so it was off for a little bit, possibly. And then he called and said, hey man, I think we're good. This and that, June, whatever. He said he had to move his May bear hunts, but hey, since I was in June, I was going to get to come. So I was all ecstatic, got all my gear ready. And then, I don't know, it was probably 2 weeks before I left. I messaged him about a piece of gear I was looking at on his gear list. And he said, hey, don't buy anything yet. He's like, they're doing some crazy stuff. They're saying you got to quarantine for 14 days before you come hunting. And I was like, who can even do that? Like, I was like, I can't. So I was pretty devastated there for a while. This is 2 weeks before I'm supposed to leave, I think. And, it was kind of crazy there. And I kept messaging him, and he's like, "Oh, we're trying." And I know those guys. I know his wife put in a ton of time, because we talked about it afterwards. Him and Jonah and his wife Skylar, she was writing letters to the governor, to everybody, trying to get clarification of what it meant for quarantine, because they're like, "Hey, we can quarantine these guys in the field. They're going to be, 200 miles from a single person. They're going to be out there with one of our guides. We can do this." But they were getting, nowhere on the phones. Certain people were like, "Oh yeah, it should be no problem." And then certain people were like, "Why would you even want to bring non-residents in here?" And they're like, "Well, because it's our livelihood. It's the only way we can make a living and pay our bills." But so yeah, I mean, it was kind of nuts there for a while. And finally, they got a letter back saying, "Yes, you can quarantine your guys in the field." So Jonah sent me this thing that how we were going to take care of COVID, all the precautions they told him to take, whatever. So it's on. And I'm not kidding you, like 2 days before I left, I'm having a brain fart. Oh gosh, why can't I think of the guy? He's been on here. I can't think of his name. I should know it. It's Brian Burkhart's buddy. Who did Brian go up to Alaska with?
Jim Eckhout?
Jim Eckhout. Yeah. Okay. So Jim, I should have known his name. I talk to him all the time, but he messaged me and said, "Hey man, I just heard Alaska is requiring people to have a negative COVID test with them when they show up, or they have to quarantine for 14 days.
Wow.
I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. This is 2 days before I left. So I call around all the hospitals in my area, and basically every one of them said the same thing. They're like, "Have you been exposed to anybody?" I said, "Nope. There's only one in our whole county, and we don't even know who it is." And so they're like, "Well, do you have any symptoms?" I said, "No." "We can't give you a test." I'm like, "Well, how am I supposed to do this?"
Oh.
Anyway, Jonah calls me and he says, "Hey, I got guys in the field. They accepted that we are quarantining you in the field. So just get up here." I'm like, "All right, screw it. I'm coming." And I jumped on a plane, had to wear my stupid mask that I don't know if you saw my mask. I paid like $35 for this custom mask because I did you see it?
No, I didn't.
See what I had written on it? Oh God, yeah. I had it. It said, "Not because it works, because I have to." So I got some pretty funny looks, and actually most people asked me if they could buy it from me. And it was interesting, but the craziest part of the whole deal was, so I get to Alaska, I had to flew through Dallas, nothing there. Half the people weren't even wearing masks. It wasn't a big deal in that huge airport. And I fly up to Alaska. You get off the plane and they meet you at the gate basically. And it's like a TSA agent, and he's like, "Are you essential worker, or are you just here visiting?" I'm like, "I'm just here visiting." So you go down this one aisle, they point you in different directions, and you stand in line, you fill out this paperwork, and then you go through the line, and there's 4 or 5 gals and sitting at these tables, and they got the whole shebang on, man.
You're
I
kidding.
felt like I was in that. No, dude, I'm serious. I felt like I was in that movie Outbreak. They had a full suit. It was a plastic suit, plastic gloves. They had a face covering. They had a hairnet on and a glass face shield. Like I liken it to one you'd wear when you're welding, but clear.
Wow.
No kidding. And I was nervous. I was like, these guys are gonna like take me to like a concentration camp or something because I don't have a test. Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm going to jail. And luckily it wasn't that bad. They I went in, and this lady was super nice, and she was asking me questions, and she's like, well, do you need a test? Because we'll give you a test and give you the results in 3 days. And I'm like, no, I don't really want a Q-tip in my brain right now. I'm good. I'll just quarantine in the field. And she's like, where are you going? What are you doing? I told her, I said, ma'am. Oh, and they kept asking me, they're like, so have you been exposed to anybody? I said, no. There's one case. Don't even know him. And she's like, all right, where are you going? I told her where I was going. I said, ma'am, I'm going to be 200 miles in the middle of nowhere hunting bears. And she goes, oh, cool. Hands me my paper and says, have fun. And away I walked. I mean, that was it. But I tell you what, man, it was weird. I don't know.
You know, there's a few avenues of thought for me. I mean, we were supposed to do all that. We didn't know, right? The country didn't know what this was going to be like in, late January, early February. So I'm all for locking everything down until we figure this out. But it was to flatten the curve, and I'm pretty sure the curve has been flattened. So, let's move on.
Yeah,
let's move on and hunt bears, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, this is something I've been waiting for my, whole life, and really waiting for the last 2.5, 3 years. So I'm going, you got to be kidding me. You're gonna snake this once in a lifetime deal. I mean, obviously, I'd probably get to go next year, and Jonah wouldn't just, well, you're SOL, but. Yeah, I don't know.
So you flew into Anchorage, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. Then did you have to fly out of Anchorage?
No, actually, their base camp, their home is in Wasilla. So they picked me up, and it was like an 1.5-hour drive over to there. And they got a beautiful place. They got a nice house and a big hangar, and with a living quarters in it for all their clients. They do it right, man. It's a pretty top-notch deal. And I know they guide for moose and sheep. And
so they're flying right out of their house then?
Yep. Yeah.
Oh,
literally. Cool. They have a runway in their yard, basically. And, man, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. So did you fly out that day, or did you hang out?
So we got into camp that day, and there were some, I think there were still some hunters in the field. So, well, actually, and I got there kind of late in the afternoon. So he's like, we'll fly out first thing in the morning. And then I'll go get Harold and move him over. So no, we flew out the next day. I got all my gear put together, and I put my bow together and shot a little bit. And, yeah, we flew out the next day.
They use inReaches up there, like so. He's got Harold out there somewhere. They use an inReach.
Yeah, that's so Harold had one, and I had mine for my personal stuff. Basically that's how they're keeping in contact with their guides. And honestly, man, Jonah flies every day. I tell you what, I mean, people look at the price of that hunt and think he's making a ton of money, and there's no way he's making a ton of money. That guy puts so much time in. He has, and this is a baited hunt, and he was baiting every day. He had a pile of dog food. It's funny, his wife was like, she's like, I go and pick up this big pile of dog food, and they're like, oh, she's like, oh, people are like, oh, do you run a animal shelter? And she's like, no, we're shooting stuff off of that. Like, no, we're killing animals off of this. But it's pretty funny. But
those inReaches, man, that has changed the backcountry dynamics. It's just incredible.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how I or anyone. I've had one for so long. It's. I don't know how you did it without it.
Well, right now, my buddy Gus, he's working the Frank Church, right? So like 4 or 5 years ago, I was hunting in the Frank Church, and I had like 4 bars of 4G service on my cell phone. I mean, that's just mind blowing. I mean, back in the day, we had freaking backcountry radios, and now Now on InReach, I'm texting him like this afternoon, hey, what do you need? What are we doing? Blah, blah, blah. It's just, yeah, man, it's crazy.
Yeah, they're awesome. And for me, my biggest thing is I'm a bit of a worrier in the backcountry. So as long as I get a text from my wife that everything's good, I know that there's no problems at home. I know that she's good. And I also know that my business, because there can be problems with the business and my guys take care of it. But if it's an actual problem, like they need an answer, they call her and get her to get a hold of me. So yeah, just getting that, hey, thumbs up, everything's good, love you. And that's, man, that just eases me into just enjoyment mode instead of like, I wonder what's going on at home. I don't like to have, I love when my phone's shut off, but I really like to know that my wife and kids are in good shape. And other than that, it's,
yeah, same boat
leave
here.
everything else at home.
Same boat here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a worrier and, getting that, hey, everything's cool. Even if my wife's lying and she's ready to strangle a kid, just like,
yeah,
okay, sounds good. I'm going to have fun then.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my wife's so good. Like she's the same way. She's like, I know that she struggles sometimes, but she'll never tell me that, unless there's something real. She knows that if she tells me that, the kids are being tough and this and that, it'll kind of make me feel guilty or whatever. So she hides all that stuff from me. I'm sure she's frustrated at times, but, yeah, she's a trooper. She doesn't.
Same boat, man.
She takes care of things.
So you get dropped off.
They should get medals.
Yeah. So you get dropped
for dealing
off.
with us.
You get dropped off, and what's camp look like?
Well, they've got these. I don't even know. I guess they're. I think they were a Cabela's tent. They're like they're almost like a teepee tent. They got a single pole in the center. I don't really know what you'd call them. They got a floor in them, and they're decent sized. I mean, it's a really nice camp, actually. They had, it's kind of funny. I think Jonah did it just to mess with Harold because he's always messing with Harold, but he had one cot. and like a true young D-bag, I took the cot and made him sleep on his. No, I told him, I said, hey, I can sleep on the floor. He's no. He was really bucking for that tip, so he didn't want any excuses at the end. But yeah, it was nice.
So those are those synthetic, are they brown synthetic tents?
Yep.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love having a tent that you can stand up in. It's a game changer.
And then what was how'd your cook setup look like? I mean, 50 yards away or something?
No, in the tent.
Nice.
We had bear fence. We had bear fence around it, and we had we had a just a little table in there, and one of those little propane type stoves, and his wife. Oh man, the food. His wife makes a lot of barbecue stuff, and then she
vacuum packs it.
Oh, vacuum packs it. Geez, I can't even think. She vacuum packs it, and we just boil it, just like that. I'm telling you, I had ribs back there. I had like barbecued chicken, brisket, I think I mean, it was amazing. And no kidding, it was as good as any restaurant I've ever been at. It was amazing. Yeah,
that's good stuff. So
it was awesome.
I saw something similar recently. So they cooked stuff, put it in vacuum sealed it, and then just boiled it. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. You just boil water and you just throw the whole pack in the water and it just boils. You got to have she told me, cause I was like, man, I'll do this for work. I'll just take a little pot and some water and I'll do this for work. And she's like, well, make sure you get the right you can't just use any vacuum seal bag. They have to be boil ready or whatever, vacuum seal bags. And yeah, you just throw it in there with everything sealed and let it boil for, 10 minutes, I don't know, and pull it out and cut it out, throw it on a plate, and it's like eating it at home. It just heats it,
and you didn't open the bag. Good. You didn't open the bag. You threw it in there sealed?
Nope.
Man, I would have thought.
You throw it in there sealed, and you just let that water boil around that bag and just heat it up again. It's awesome.
Yeah, I would have thought that would have popped the bag or something. I might have to try that.
And you got to have the right bag, she said. If you don't, they'll melt the bags, I guess. But
yeah,
when I was in Idaho, I hunted in Idaho, and same thing. We had a big wall tent set up that we horsebacked into, and we were eating steaks and potatoes back there, everything. We had eggs. She just mixed up like scrambled eggs and didn't cook them, and just left them, and then vacuum sealed it, and then you put it in and it cooks the egg.
No way.
Yeah, dude, it's awesome. It's a great setup. I mean, yeah, I've had it in a couple different camps. Yeah, it works great.
So you hunted Idaho. That must have sucked. Probably should have went to Colorado.
Oh, Idaho's terrible.
Yeah, you should have went to Colorado.
Miserable.
Colorado's the place you ought to be.
Yeah. Right.
Shoot.
Yeah.
Right on. So Harold gets flown in?
Yeah. So, okay. So, what, this hunt, since I got back, other than all the hate messages that we can talk about later, I got a ton of people that are curious about the hunt. And basically what I'm telling people is this is a super epic hunt, but it's not epic in the way that some hunts are. Like, the adventure's there. You're flying in, you're dropped off. There's bears. I mean, we saw six brown bears, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile from our camp. It was a sow and 3 cubs and 2 boars trying to get at the cubs to kill them. And
did you get to watch that for very long? Did you get to watch that?
Yeah, actually. Well, kind of. The sow, she was a pretty good sized sow, and she actually run them boars off eventually, but they were trying like hell to get it done. And I mean, that's, so no, I didn't. I mean, that's exactly what they were trying to do. Actually, what we were trying to do is sneak up on them. We were like, hey, while this is all going on, we're going to try to sneak in on them. So, well, we only got about halfway over there, and they crossed the river and got on the other side. Then that sow ran them ran them 2 boars off. But the adventure part of it, being a baited hunt, I'm not saying that it wasn't. I don't even really know how to describe the hunt, because I killed a bear on the second night. The first night, what we were doing is we were sitting on the ground in a ground blind, and of course Harold's sitting with me and with his gun, and I mean, we're in a tiny little blind. We were in one of those little Primos blinds, and we sat the first night.
I'm not sure I'd like that. Not being able to see 360. I mean, I'm all for, putting up some camo netting, but I want to see what's behind me off to the side. I want my peripheral working.
Well, it's funny because we actually had one of those 360 blinds, the Primo, it was that 360 blind.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I got you now.
Seen that? Yeah, well, I can tell you right now, I don't recommend that to anybody, especially a stickbow guy. That thing is not tall enough. We had to put logs up underneath it to prop it up, just to get it up high enough for me to shoot. And of course, when it rains, the rain, comes down to the sides and just comes right in the mesh.
Yeah.
And wind blows right through it. And honestly, if the sun isn't straight above you, if it's off to the side, you can see you can see shadows moving in there. So it's not, I always thought it was like the cat's meow. I was going to buy one, but they're so expensive. I'm glad I didn't. They could do some stuff to it, but.
So you had a height problem. Were you getting a Snyder lean into your shooting or not?
I was trying to. I was really trying to. I if I don't kill something with a Snyder lean, then did I really kill it? I mean, honestly.
We gotta make T-shirts. Shoot like Snyder. The Snyder lean.
If it's not a Snyder lean, it doesn't count. I didn't hit my clicker either, so I don't know. That brown bear, they might want to take that back.
Snyder invented the cant.
Oh yeah, yeah, he did. Yeah, no one canted before. Oh man. Yeah, well, I'd probably have elbowed Harold right in the face if I would have gotten too much over there. I mean, we were elbow to elbow in that thing.
Really?
What was real interesting is when we tried to take a little nap the first night, we took the chairs out. Hey, you know what it's like being in a small blind by yourself. You put two guys in there with chairs and all the gear and a gun and a bow and man, it was packed tight, and we both had our little shout out to Kifaru. We had our little Kifaru whoobies with us. Which do you know why it's called a whoobie? I just learned this. I should have known before. Do you know?
I do not know why it's called a whoobie.
Okay. I don't know if this is true, but a guy told me, some guy, I think he's Army or military, I don't know, he's some military guy. He's like, it's because you will be cold without it. I don't know if that's true. I never did ask Aaron, but anywho, on that tangent. But so we cuddled up in this blind, and I'm not kidding you. It's too short for you to really stretch your legs out. So your legs are, and they put it right on top of these exposed roots. So I had a root, like I was like cuddling a root all night, and you don't really sleep. You just kind of lay there and pray for it to be over.
So, hey, let me ask you this: had they thought about tree stands? Did you not have trees? I don't know. I don't know what the country was like.
Yep. No, they hunt out of trees too. They've got some places they have stands. Some places are better. They just can't find the right tree. And to be honest, when I was getting ready to go, I kind of told him, I said, I would almost prefer to be on the ground. For one, I felt like it was going to be just that extra exhilaration. And two, the shot angle. I mean, I don't mind shooting from a tree, but I feel like it adds just a little bit of difficulty. You know what I mean? So I really wanted a straight shot, and this is the bait they put me on. So no, they do definitely use tree stands, and it depends on what you want. Jonah did tell me, he's like, the more suggestions or questions a guy wants, requests a guy has, the more limited of spots he gets to hunt.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And that's what I told him. I was like, I don't care, but if I had to pick, I'd rather be on the ground, and that's how it ended up. But
yeah.
That first night we sat for 16 hours. We sat from 4:00 in the afternoon till about 10, I think, and then hiked back to camp. We saw one bear that night. It was just a young boar, and I told them guys, I was like, you're gonna have to hold my arrows because I'm going to shoot, if you're like, well, it's legal, you can shoot it. I will have already shot it. So luckily I did not shoot that bear. He was, I could tell he was young, but it was fun to watch him. But man, they're on it. Those bears, you've guided and hunted bears. The grizzlies are just, they're on it.
Yeah. Those big ones are like whitetails, man. If there's human presence around, they are not around. I mean, it didn't take much, but all the juveniles for sure.
Yeah. Well, and this guy, I don't know if the wind just wasn't quite right or what, but he kept sniffing the air, and he eventually boiled out, and he wasn't there very long, but so that was the only bear that night, and we headed back to camp, and I don't know if we took a little snooze or whatever, and then headed back, and as I tell the story, everybody wants to hear the story, and I keep going back to that. It's not the most epic story in the world, like it's not a sheep hunt, it's not a goat hunt, it's not a high country mule deer hunt. What caused it to be so epic for me, for one, is the wait. I was waiting for this for 3 years, paying on it. It was the most expensive hunt I've been on to date, and probably well past my financial.
Sure.
Somehow my wife lets me do stupid stuff with our money.
You and me both. You and me both.
Right? You got to have that good one that just like, oh, I'm just not going to pay attention. Please don't sell our car to go hunting. But I got to take the kids to school. Geez. But yeah, so the second night we got in, and that night the wind was a little better. We had to hike. We hiked, I think it was somewhere between, Harold, not Howard. I kept calling him Howard. I don't know why. Harold said that it was about 2.5, 3 miles. So we hiked in. It's all flat. And we're kind of out actually in the flats. There's this river that runs through there, and apparently they use rafts most of the time. We just hiked because, like I said, Jonah likes to mess with Harold, and so I don't think he dropped a raft off for him. But it was no big deal. We had to sit for 16 hours. So anyway, we hike in there and get set up, and that night it was better. We had a respectable boar come in about 10 o'clock at night, and honestly, Harold, jeez, was my mind, man. Harold was like, yeah, it's a respectable bear. He's like, it's not the big one that's been at this bait. So my thought is, all right, well, that's a brown bear. I've never shot a brown bear before. Let's shoot that bear.
No.
So
let me ask you real quick now. How far is the blind from the bait? And is there a defined trail that they're using? How are they generally coming in? How does Harold expect them to come in?
Yep. So basically, so the bait, the closest side, if they were on the very closest side, it'd be 17 yards. And on the far side, it's 24 yards.
Nice.
And if you fly over it, which we did, the bear trails coming into there were ridiculous. They come from every different direction. There's even some that come from behind you and on the side. We never did have any bears come from that way. He said most of the bears come from the left and right, and straight on.
Are they wind?
Predominant wind.
Yeah, so they're coming in downwind.
Yeah. Well, and the predominant wind, and it was a crosswind most of the time, and but obviously where they were coming in, they were even with the bait, so our wind was paralleling them for the most part. And they had an ozonics going in there. We probably sprayed like 15 cans of nose jammer, whether it worked or not. But they were pretty serious about the scent. They could come from anywhere, but all the ones that came to that bait were coming from straight in front of us or from our left and right.
Nice.
That first bear was in there for a while, and in my head, I was like, if this bear comes to the closest end of the bait and puts his leg forward, it's destined to die. I'm not picky. This is definitely a Pope and Young bear, which they only have to be 20 inches to be Pope and Young. It's not that hard to get a brown bear there. So I was in all anticipation on shooting him if nothing better came in. And luckily I waited long enough, and a big boar, the one I ended up shooting, came. It was kind of crazy. He just barreled in from nowhere. He just barreled across the trees out in front of us, and this bear took off, and he chased him out of the country. Like you couldn't even hear him running anymore. And he didn't come back for probably a half hour maybe. But he finally came back, and you can say whatever you want about baited hunts. I've said before, if it's legal, whatever gives me the best chance. I mean, I love to spot and stock. I love do-it-yourself hunts. I love baited hunts. I love just basically any way of hunting. I enjoy. Probably my least favorite is still hunting, just walking around real slow and quiet. Even though it's effective, it sometimes gets on my nerves, but I enjoy all of it. So, but when this bear was in there, he was there for probably 45 minutes eating, and he never gave me a shot. I feel like they know where the blind is. They know where the blind is. So they basically lay down at the food and face the blind, and they're weird. It's not like a dog where they'll eat, the bait fast. It's actually dog food that they're using for bait, and they'll like take little, like 1 or 2 kernels at a time and eat them. It's the weirdest thing you ever seen. Like these huge bears, and they're just not lapping up this dog food. They're just like eating a couple little kernels at a time. It's nuts.
And they lay facing the blind, right?
Yep.
And
yep.
Yeah, and he's always looking over there.
He's always looking, and he'd get up. He had a little bit of a rub on his rump, which I didn't care, because the way I'm going to mount him, it didn't bother me. And like I said, he was a big bear, and but he'd get up and he'd sit right on his butt, and he'd just like twist back and forth like he was itching his butt. And they got such a big head on them. Their noggin just looks weird. Like their body's big, but then they got this huge head above them. And when he was sitting up like that, I wish I had a video of it. It's hilarious. But no, he never would give me a shot. And it was starting to get kind of dark, and you can hunt there, obviously 24 hours. And Harold kept going, "Hey, what do you think?" He kept kind of whispering to me, Are you still good? You think you can, we were both worried about not making a good shot. And that's where I wanted to go with this. The epic thing is, in that shot, there is so much pressure on a guy. I've talked about this a million times. Me and Aaron have touched on it in podcasts. I think me and you have touched on it. People want to walk or run before they walk, and they want to go on these big hunts, and they haven't gone on guided hunts. And even though a brown bear at 20 yards does not seem like it would be a tough shot, that is an extremely tough shot when that arrow means the kind of money that it means. You wound that animal, that's it. That's your animal. You get,
not only
you don't
that,
get a do-over.
Yeah, not only that, but you're putting people in danger, right? Because it's Harold's job.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, I know exactly what you mean. Not everybody. I can tell you definitively, though, Jake. Not everybody thinks like you. you would think people would care, but I know from experience, like, oh yeah, I got one in them. Go find them. Like, all right, thanks, man. That's awesome. Appreciate it. Good for you.
Man. I mean, that's right. Well, and I know they before I got there, they had tracked a few bears. They had one that they tracked and actually got right up on it in these cliffs, and they were like, "It's got to be right here," and they were getting nervous. And about the time they thought that, he said it just made this deep, deep growl, and they were like, "Holy crap!"
Oh, man.
and it was right there. I mean, it was gut shot, and it was fixing to come do its thing. And luckily they backed out and were able to go retrieve it the next day, and it had died. But
was it?
Yeah, I mean, you got that on your.
Was it an arrow hit or a bullet hit?
It was an arrow hit. Yep.
Yeah.
There was actually five of us hunting throughout the whole season with him. He went 5 for 5 all bow.
Nice.
And Harold said that I was either third or fourth, because I know he's told his story, I think, on your podcast. I think he did it on one of your
I Hunt Close.
Yeah. Yeah, he did that story with about how he got out of the stand and went and snuck up on him.
Yeah.
And he told me that after I shot it, I was like third or fourth, maybe third person that had killed one with a stick bow in the 13 years he guided with him. And then right after me, there was another guy that was up there that shot one with a stick bow. And crazy enough, I think he said he had only killed a turkey before that. So he went straight varsity.
Oh,
yeah, he went straight varsity.
I don't know. Yeah, that's I'm not. I had that. Yeah, I'm not sure that's a good idea.
No, it's not. And I'll be honest, the guy, I never met him, but he didn't have as good a luck with the shot as I did. But
yeah,
I'm not saying that I made it, that I couldn't have made a bad shot. I made plenty of bad shots in my life, and we'll talk about one of them later. But so yeah, I mean, anyway, this bear finally, not to keep dragging out, this bear finally turns and starts walking away and got to about 20 yards, maybe 22. I don't know. He was right there at the edge of the food. And I just had been calming myself. Actually, it's funny, your little hint or your little tip on, making a joke, that actually worked. My wife made it even better. My wife, I told her that, I was going to try to use that. And she's like, well, yeah, just tell yourself, even Lana can do it. Even Lana could make this shot. And so
That's awesome.
it helped me calm down. And I was able to, and I was using nocturnals. And I'm telling you, man, as soon as I hit that bear, Harold looked at me and he goes, dead bear, immediately.
Nice.
I mean,
nice.
And I felt it was just a red beacon right behind the shoulder there. It's funny. I asked him,
did you get a pass through?
It penetrated all the way to the other side. It buried basically to the fletch, had the red knock sticking out, and it ended up pulling itself out of the bear, but it didn't go all the way through him. But I was really tickled with that. I mean, that setup I'm shooting with that wide day 6, I tell you right now, I couldn't be more confident in an arrow setup. I mean, somebody could call me from any one of the other arrow companies and be like, hey, dude, we'll give you this, we'll give you that. And I don't think and it has nothing to do with Brian or I just had such good luck with that arrow and that broadhead. It did awesome.
No, you got to have you got to have confidence in your stuff.
Oh yeah, and that's the other thing. People are constantly changing their setups, and I was too until I found what works, and now I'm just gonna stick with it. But yeah, it was funny because as soon as he ran off, Harold obviously said dead bear, and we were fist bumping in the blind, trying to be quiet, and immediately after he ran off, a sow walked in. She was waiting for him to get the heck out of there, so she could do some eating. And he's like, "Dang it!" And he, I'm not kidding you. We sat there for 2 minutes probably, and he looked at me and he goes, "Screw it, we're going." And I'm like, "Holy cow, dude! This is a brown bear. Like, you don't want to give it a little time?" He was so confident it was dead. Like, nope, it's dead. Let's go. So he grabs his gun. We get out. It's starting to get pretty dark, and we get out and walk over, and luckily that sow just busted out of there, took off running, and he had piled up within 50 yards of the blind of the where we shot him. We knew kind of which trail he had taken out, and we didn't even blood trail him. We just walked down the trail, and it was a different feeling walking up on him, because when we walked up to him and I saw him the first time, I said, there he is. And I can just remember thinking, I know he's dead, but I'm still scared. Like, I was like, that was like the first time that I really actually thought about it. Like, what if this thing is just like playing dead? Like, I knew he was dead, but in my head, it was tough for me to walk up to him. And, it wasn't like I was standing back there just quaking. But you know what, that feeling like, man, I probably should be cautious here. And Harold, he just walks up there and, walks right next to him. And he's so numb to that stuff. But, man, I was like, geez,
yeah.
And then just to look at him.
Yeah. And then everything we've ever, maybe it's a human instinct, like, that's a big bear, I don't want to touch that, I'm not supposed to touch that.
Yep.
I had to reach down and
it was crazy.
I grabbed one in a log jam one time. We killed it with a rifle, and it was in a log jam. It was underwater. We had to go out there with a boat. And I had to reach down and grab it, in the same thing. It was like, is that thing really dead, or is he just holding his breath?
Oh man, yeah, that would make me nervous. And you just look at their head. Their head is massive, and their claws are just unbelievable. They're as long as your fingers and just sharper than heck. And it's a creature that I honestly never thought I'd get to hunt, and I never, and I don't know. It's something that, I don't know. It was an amazing experience. Like I said, I don't have this epic stock to talk about. Yes, I shot it over bait, but honestly,
it's still cool.
It's still cool, and it doesn't, the part doesn't really bother me at all. It doesn't bother me. No, like I said, I actually enjoy hunting bears over bait, because I get to watch them interact with each other and get to size them up, and I enjoy every bit of it. But it's just a different kind of a hunt. People are asking me about this hunt, and I'm like, you know what? It gives you the best odds of killing a bear with a bow. You still got to make the shot. It's still, like I said, there's a lot riding on that arrow. But it gives you the best chances on a bear. I know that spotting and stalking on a salmon stream would be awesome, and maybe someday I'll get to do that. But I tell you right now, having that big bear within, he could have been on us in seconds, and that blind obviously wasn't going to protect us. So just that factor it just makes it it's awesome. It makes it awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So was his head all scarred up? Was his face scarred?
Yeah, he had a big old cut on his neck. His head wasn't too bad. He'd been fighting though. When we skinned him out, he had big old bruises all over his shoulders, where he'd been fighting. Like, he was a bruiser.
They live
there was actually just
they live such a tough life. You talk about those bears trying to get to the cubs, and the sows are fighting. They live. Every boar we ever skinned out had broken jaws, broken teeth, bruised up, like you're talking. That is a harsh life.
Yeah, and that's the thing that people don't understand, that there's, all these people, I get a kick out of it. Like we were talking earlier, when these people are messaging me. I had one guy earlier, I'm still getting these hate messages about, you're not a man, you're shooting precious critters, and these things are extinct, and all the things I told you. And I'm just laughing, because I'm just like, have you guys spent any time in the woods? Nature is the most cruel and beautiful thing in the world. Like, nature. Well, and the funny thing is, we were sitting on stand when we were hunting black bears, and we saw a cow. I haven't posted that picture yet. Her whole side is white with scars or
Oh.
infection or whatever it is. And she's got a big gaping, seeping hole right up on the top of her hip. And I'm going, I told Harold, I was like, that's got to be a grizzly bear because of the high. He's like, well, maybe wolves. And I was like, man, look at that scar up high. You know, it could have been a wolf, could have jumped up there, but I'm pretty sure that moose had been that cow moose had just been tore to pieces by a bear.
Yeah. And she was, you're saying she was alive?
Yeah. She's just walking around. Yeah. She had these, both sides of her, just all white, scarred up, and one like gaping hole. See, I got a video of it. I'm going to post it. I'm sure a lot of that white was maybe hide where they had been scratching at her, and we didn't have our binoculars, but she was just all tore up, and I was just like, holy cow.
My buddy Dan has been on here before. He's a world-class guide, and he's guided brown bear hunts for, gosh, I don't know, 20 years or something. They watched a 8 foot plus, a mature bear. It wasn't a monster. It's an 8 foot, 8.5 foot, 8'10", pester a cow moose one spring for her calf. And that cow moose that bear would come in and it'd rear up and pound the bear right in the head with its hoofs. And it went on and on and on. It's a harsh environment. So yeah, for somebody to say zipping an arrow through a bear, and it's dead in 15 seconds. Oh, that's cruel. Well, really?
Yeah.
Who, I think his name's Arthur Wasey. He goes by Wasey Dog on Instagram.
Oh yeah.
I was shooting the breeze with him the other night, and he hit the nail on the head. It's like the people that have the most the people with the most opinion, the most like emotional opinions on wolves and bears and all this stuff are generally people that have never set foot in the woods. They have no clue.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Nail on the head.
And that's usually my response. Yeah. That's usually my response to them. It's just like, if you've never witnessed a bear in the woods, you don't really get a say, or you shouldn't. Educate yourself a little bit. I mean, I probably, in the area we were hunting, I probably saw 15 to 20 different brown bears in 5 days.
Nice.
4 days, 5 days.
Nice.
I mean, that's a lot of bears in that little section we were hunting. We weren't, covering ground. We were in, and granted we were sitting on baits, but a lot of them that we saw were just out in the open as we were sitting at camp and whatever. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. People put emotion into things instead of science, and I guess whatever. I kind of get a kick out of it, but anyway.
So you guys skin them out. Do you have any other bears show up while you were skinning, working it up?
No, we never did. Got him hauled out of there, and without, I've never actually had a bad bear experience yet. I'm waiting, but I've been lucky up to this point. I've hunted a lot in Alaska, not a lot, but enough, and seen bears and had them around camp, but I've never had any close calls or where and then I hunted in BC where there, plenty of grizzlies up there. I mean, I've just been lucky up to this point. So I guess my mind is probably that of kind of ignorance, you're just kind of like, like, I'm good. We got this bear. Harold's got his gun. We're fine.
You kind of got to be like that, or it'd be miserable. I mean, it
would be. Yeah. I mean, you got to go ahead.
It took me a couple days to relax. When I went up there, it'd take me a couple days to settle in. Like, not every bear is out to kill you, and right. And then after that, you just kind of enjoy it and be careful. And it'd be miserable if you're thinking every one of them's going to jump on you and eat you.
Yeah. So we didn't have any trouble there. We got him back to camp, and And Harold's the bad thing about Harold is there's only one of him. Everybody wants to hunt with Harold when they go up there, and he's a taxidermist, so he helped me flesh my hide and turn the toes, and we salted it, and I mean it. It was ready for to head to the tannery. So we did that, and we're sitting there in camp, and Harold's talking about all of the black bears that are just destroying these baits before the brown bears can even get there. I was like, you know what? I will help you out with that problem. So, Jonah gets trophy fees for him, and it's real reasonable. So I was like, man, we're here for a couple more days. Let's go kill some black bears.
Awesome.
So
that is awesome.
Yes. Oh man, it was awesome, because where we were hunting, I'm glad I did it, because where we were hunting was just kind of out in the flats. You could see the beautiful mountains in the background, but it was just out in the flats, and we were kind of by a river, and there were some patches of trees. And Jonah flew in and got me the tags, and then he flew us to the next camp. And I telling you, man, it was the most beautiful. We were right kind of in this valley on the river, and two big mountains on each side, a glacier in them. I could have lived there. It was beautiful. So we got moved over and set up, and that, he was not kidding. The black bears are crazy. So he says we got flown in kind of late, so we just decided to get up in the morning and go hunt. And we didn't get up that early. We got up, had breakfast. We snuck over there, had to cross the river in this little pack raft, which I can't swim. So luckily, we crossed it.
You can't
I can't swim for crap, man.
Really?
No, I could probably doggy paddle my way. It would have been hilarious if we would have capsized this thing. It's tiny, and I got my backpack on. And I'm like riding in front and trying to, and it's moving. It's not roaring, but it's moving. And we get across and we do our thing. And I'm going to tell you, we were coming back, and that's when it dawned on me. I was like, if we capsize this thing, I wonder how deep it is here, because I'm screwed. I got a pack on and all these clothes, and
yeah, I'm
gonna drown out here. And I asked him, he's like, "Oh, it's about 3 foot deep." I'd be that guy out there like flailing in the water, like, "Help me, I'm drowning!" And then he'd be like, "Stand up."
No, you know what? To be honest with you, packs and swift water make me nervous for sure. I don't.
Oh yeah, man. We got it. It was cool. It was cool though to cross there. I haven't really done much raft hunting, so and all we did, it was kind of like that scene in Ace Ventura where he jumps in the raft and he's got a little fan and he like goes like 10 feet and gets out. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't. But it's
you gotta have seen that movie. Oh man, Jim Carrey. Yeah, I'm hoping your listeners are like,
oh yeah,
envisioning that, because that's what it kind of felt like. We just crossed the river, but I felt like we did something pretty special. I ain't gonna lie to you.
It's because you
didn't like a raft hunter.
Yeah, you didn't have knee-high boots, so you used the raft.
I did have knee-high boots, but
so
it was too swift, man. If I'd have gone down, I'd have never come back.
So you guys are spotting stock in these black bear?
Well, we snuck into this bait, and we snuck in and we're gonna spot, but there wasn't anything on the bait. So and we get in there like 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, this is stupid. Like, what are we doing in here? Like, you don't hunt black bear. I didn't say that, but I'm thinking black bears don't. I've never, when you go hunt in wherever, Idaho or
Colorado,
any of the, Colorado, any place I've ever baited bears, you go in at 4 o'clock and the bears don't come in till right at dark. You might have a little one come in a little early, but So I'm like, this is crazy. But they're like, no, man, they don't come in at night because the brown bears, they run them off or whatever. So we snuck in there and nothing was on it. So we're sitting there and nothing's happening. I actually had a book. I can read, so I was reading.
So what are you reading? Archie comics?
No, I don't even know what I was reading. I don't even know. I just took it because we had it laying around the house. But
it was a Daniel Steele novel.
Yeah, one of those steamy books. Yeah.
Oh, I'm tired. I'm sorry to listeners. I'm tired, and Rummy.
That's all right. Well, I'm rambling, so no big deal. But yeah, so I just felt like something. I didn't hear anything. I just felt like something was there, and I look up from my little novel, and here's this bear. And the first thing I think is, that's a color-phased black bear. But then I was like, he said they don't have color-phased black bears here. And I got to looking at it, I was like, no, that's a grizzly bear. It wasn't a big one. But I'm telling you, we're sitting 12 yards on the ground, out in the open, on this bait. And I look at this bear, and I'm like, holy crap. And he's kind of sniffing the air and looking around. He hasn't looked right at us, but he's kind of standing there looking around. And luckily, he was a younger bear. Obviously, that's why he was in there early, but he ended up either catching our wind or just not liking something and took off running. But I was like, man, that was intense. You know what? Holy cow.
Some of those younger bears, and I don't know, I wouldn't speak to brown bears as much, but I've noticed with black bears on baits, some of those smaller bears are the most ignorant. And I'm sure it's
aggressive because they think,
they get beat up and pushed around all the time, and then they see you and they seem like they want to pull you into the into the chain of command there. But I've seen that several times where the smaller, younger bears are the most blusterous.
Yeah, well, and those bears are the ones that haven't really been shot at or had a lot of human interaction as much as some of the older bears. So yeah, I could see where they'd be. I probably should have been more scared than I was. I kind of looked back at Harold. I was like, what? This thing is like right here, like holy crap. And as soon as it ran away, I looked back. Harold was sitting back there, and then no gun in his hand, no, he's just looking at it. And he's probably like 5 yards behind me or so, maybe 7. And he, the second time I looked back after it ran away, he's kneeling. So that's probably what it saw. It saw him move. He was kneeling with his gun in his hand. I was like, all right, at least you got me. At least you got my 6. I was like, holy cow. But as soon as that bear vacated, it was like all the other black bears knew that the grizzly was gone. And, it wasn't 20 minutes and a bear was in there. I don't know, man. I kind of almost don't even want to tell this story because it was a bit like shooting fish in a barrel. I mean, this one bear came in and same thing. They do the same thing. They face you and eat. So it takes a while to get a shot. And he finally gave me a shot and I smoked him. Of course, I'm at 12 yards. How could you not? And he run in the woods, and Harold was like, "Well, let's go get him." Okay, you're awful confident in everything, But yeah, we walked back there, grab him, drag him out, and and it's so funny because we dragged him to the river, which is probably I don't know, maybe 40 yards from the bait, and there's a lane to the bait. So we set him up there, and he's like, all right, go back to your spot. I'm going to skin this thing. I'm like, holy cow, all right. So he's over there by the river skinning away, and I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden there's another bear at the bait, and he walking around, and about the same size as the other one I shot. And I was like, just waiting for my shot. And, and same thing. Just he finally turned. I got a good shot, stuck it in him, and away he ran. And I felt it. Seriously, no kidding. All that I could think of the whole time was Jeremiah Johnson, and he's like, "Skin that one, Pilgrim, and I'll get you another." That's all I could think about. You skin Grizz? I was like, man, this is just crazy. I'm just making Harold just skin these bears. And anyway, we ended up taking care of those two together, or he had finished that one, and we took care of the other one together. And so we go back to sit at the bait. It's gotten in the afternoon now, and finally a good. Those other two were decent bears. He thought maybe 200 pounders, good bears, but nothing crazy. And we're sitting there and this big bear comes, or pretty big. I mean, the funny thing about those bears up there is they don't get huge skulls. They just get fat. He figured, and I believe Harold, he's seen a lot of bears. He said he was probably about a 350 pound bear.
That's a nice one.
Which is a big bear. Yeah. So, anyway, it went downhill pretty fast there. I waited and didn't take a shot that I should have while he was bedded, while he was laying down. I was just like, I don't want to, because their guts, how their guts kind of push up into and push their vitals up behind their shoulder. So I didn't take a lay-in shot. It was super close, like 10 yards. And,
wow, that's cool, man.
Yeah. Oh, it was awesome just to watch him. And finally, he gets up to leave, and he just stands up and starts walking away, and he immediately goes into this out of my shooting lane, and there's some little alders that we didn't clear, and he stops, and he's kind of quartering away, and I probably shouldn't even tell this story, but I'm going to tell it because it was amazing. He quarters away, and I draw, and I think I got a hole to shoot through, and I shoot. And whether I'm going to just be that guy that blames a stick or if I just shot this poorly, I swear the arrow went into that hole looking good and then just dove to the left and smoked him right in the back ham.
Oh,
and you talk about, and he just roared and ran off. I was so mad at myself. I was like, I've been watching this bear for 45 minutes, biggest bear we've seen. Beautiful coat. Like, I just screwed this up immensely. I can't believe it. I'm so mad. Anyway, we're sitting there and Harold's like, well, let's just go over there and look for your arrow or whatever. So we go over there and we get about 10 yards in and it looked like somebody had, like a murder scene. Like there was blood everywhere. And we were talking about, we're like, man, this is not just a meat hit that's just pouring out of him. This is spraying out of him. I obviously got an artery or the femoral or something. I hit something good. So we waited just a little while, and then we got on the trail, and I'm not kidding you, man. It was blood everywhere. And we found him piled up about 50 yards away. And after looking at him, what it did is it went in that back ham, caught that artery, and was sticking out the front of his leg. Went all the way through all that meat. It didn't hit the bone, but it went through all of that meat, sticking out the other side. And as he was running, he was jabbing it up into his guts and his chest.
Man,
it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. The worst shot I've ever made, where it just killed him instantly. And obviously, go ahead.
That speaks to a sharp broadhead.
Yeah, and something that holds an edge.
Yes, I'll go back to last year, when I realized how dull my broadheads can get just in and out of a quiver. And now I start shooting those other broadheads where, when it's in the animal, it's cutting like bad because it's still sharp. Yeah.
I probably shouldn't even say this, but I'm gonna. I had already shot through one bear with that broadhead. It hit the dirt on the other side, flew clean through him. I picked it up and I literally just shaved hair off my arm. I was like, all right, this is good. You know, I don't have to bloody another arrow. So I stuck it in my quiver, and that's the one I shot that bear with. Yeah, I mean, that day 6, I'm a pretty strong believer in that head. I mean, I just, you know, in any, you know, there's a lot of good heads out there, but that one, I've got a lot of good experiences with it now. And yeah, I couldn't believe that though. I couldn't believe I killed that bear, because I was like, you gotta be kidding me. I've been just slamming, you know, these bears, and at camp, I just couldn't miss. And here's the biggest black bear. I make a bad shot. And like I said, I think I hit a twig, but I ain't going to be that guy. I'll just say I made a bad shot. But yeah, 3 bears in under 24 hours. It was awesome. I don't know. I mean, like I said, you know, you never expect anything from a hunt. And that was kind of a stepping stone to other things, you know, these higher priced hunts. Not saying that I'm going to go on, you know, a ton of these type of hunts, but definitely a stepping stone. That's, you know, what I keep kind of inching up there, you know, goat hunting. You know, I started small and working my way through some things. So,
well,
yeah, it was pretty exhilarating.
So I know, heck, you and I and Aaron just talked a couple weeks ago. Tell everybody what your setup is in case they didn't hear that one.
Yeah, man. Shooting the Bob Lee like always. 54 pounds it's 54 at 28. My draw is somewhere between 28 and a quarter, 28 and a half. So, you know, I'm right around that 55 pound range. Shooting a mountain muffler bowstring and Great Northern strap-on quiver. With the arrows, I'm shooting the day 6 350s. With the centric outsert system in aluminum, actually, and then a 200 grain day 6 Evo XL. So I got 250 up front, and then I got 4 4-inch trad vanes in the back, a 7-inch wrap, and just starting to try the nocturnals, which, man, I tell you, I'm kind of into it. I was kind of on the fence before I left, but after I shot that bear, yeah, I really like them, and it's weighing in at about 600 grains. Shooting out of my bow. It's not screaming out of my bow. It's about 170 feet per second, which is plenty of speed for me. I'm not a long range guy like Aaron. You know, like we talked on that last podcast, I don't. I mean, I practice at 30 and 40, but most of my hunting is done 25 and in. So
yeah, that aluminum outsert. Are you going with that just because of weight?
Yep, just because of weight. And honestly, I ran so I've run the steel and I've ran the aluminum, and I've tested both on cement, and both have held up phenomenally. I think the way that everything threads together and glues together, you know, the aluminum is obviously inferior in durability to steel, but when you're talking about that small of an area, I've seen some other outserts. A guy sent me some different ones that were splitting on him, and I've never had any trouble with the and I've hit rocks. I've hit, like I said, I shot those broadheads into like everybody, you know, concrete. I had to do the concrete test, I guess, to tell myself that they were durable enough. And honestly, what I like about the day 6 head is they will not. I've had them survive where the blade didn't break, but you need to replace that blade no matter what arrow you shoot. You know, all those tough heads. Anyway, they'll break. What I had is the tip break or whatever. But but the ferrule stays straight. That ferrule stays straight, so you can throw a new blade on it. And I did that. I put a new blade on it, spun perfect, and shot it. And that's good enough for me, because what I really want is, I know that concrete is it's an unreasonable test for animals. If you hit a bone that hard, even if it breaks, you're not getting through it anyway. Not with trad gear, not if it's that heavy of a bone. I mean, the cutthroat, you might get farther through it, but with my setup, I'm not getting through that knuckle. I know I'm not. It's just not going to happen. And even if I get through it, I'm not getting anything good anyway. So my biggest thing is, if I shoot through an animal and it hits a rock on the way by, or goes into a rock face after it hits the animal and breaks the tip, I want to know that I can continue hunting by throwing a new blade on it. So that's what works good for me.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I just, the way that setup is run for me, it's just a perfect deal for what I got going on.
I've like always, I wouldn't say poo-pooed, but those Luminox or anything like those lighted Nox, I've always just thought it was a gimmick, but that's pretty cool stuff.
Man, I've never used one. This is the first animal I've ever killed with one. And when I was in Texas, I got there and the guy was like, "You shoot lighted Nox?" I said, "No." He's like, "Do you have any?" I said, "No." He's like, "Dang it." Because, you shoot all them pigs at night or right at dark, and you can't really see them. And he's like, "Yeah, man." And it's easier to find them if the arrow's still in them. And it's easier to find your arrow if you miss. I was thoroughly impressed. And with a stick bow, I mean, they're heavier for sure. I think they weigh, 10 more grains than my other, but I didn't notice any extra stiffness or, with a fletch shaft. I mean, I didn't notice any problems with it. They're awesome. I'm going to keep shooting them. If they're legal where I'm hunting, I'm going to shoot them.
Yeah. I've been frustrated with, I had some day 6 arrows, the Nox, and also my, Black Eagle. I always screw it up. X Impact or whatever they are.
Yep.
The Nox,
Deep Impacts, right?
Deep Impact. The Nox.
Throw them away.
But I can't find any good Nox for any of them. They're all just junk.
Easton G Nox, man, is what I use because I've shot both those arrows. I've shot all 3 of those arrows. I used to shoot Deep Impacts and X Impacts. X Impacts are pretty sweet because they're light, but they don't hold up, man. I broke so many of those things.
You're talking
Almost
about the
every
Nox.
animal I shot. No, the arrow. The arrows.
Are you kidding me? I've pounded stuff with those arrows.
You're shooting the Deep Impacts. Those are tough.
Yeah.
The X Impacts are the lighter grains per inch.
Oh, gotcha.
Those ones are basically pretty similar to a day 6.
Gotcha.
And I was shooting those with a Ursus Archery outsert, and that was pretty close to the day 6. I mean, it's about as close as you get. And it costs about the same once you buy the ethics system. But no, those Deep Impacts are about the same as the but yeah, you throw those Nox in the garbage. And Easton G Nox. Have you tried those? Those are the way to go.
I got the wrong Easton Nox, and I actually did a little video on it.
Small one?
Well, I got they were. I'm going to screw it which letter it is up, but I was like, yeah, that's good, and I got them in there. They were tight. Well, they were just a little bit too fat, and I noticed all of a sudden I was splitting the end of the arrows because they were too
really?
much. Yeah, so I obviously didn't have the correct one, and I don't think it was a G-Knock. I'll have to try that.
Try the G-Knock, but you got to be careful because they have large groove and small groove, and you get the small groove, and you've almost got to get rid of your serving to shoot them. They're
okay. So I need large
tiny
groove.
Little boogers. I don't know exactly what serving you're shooting, but that's what I shoot.
Whatever mountain
and
muffler.
I tell you what, they're awesome.
Yeah, whatever mountain muffler. I love his string. Steve does a great job.
Oh yeah, he's a good dude. He makes some sweet strings. I got some new. I got a new bow that's all decked out. It's got it's got a big bear paw on it. It was all decked out, ready to kill a bear, and I just couldn't I couldn't talk myself into it because I hadn't killed anything with it. I just couldn't take it on this. I mean, I took it as a backup, but I shot with my first bow.
So
both the exact same specs.
Yeah, but it had the like bedazzle on it, so it was like your bedazzle bow.
Oh yeah, it would have been. Oh, it would have been sweet. It had it had a big old bear paw on it, and it has a little more flair to it. It's a Bobley hardcore, so it's got some wood grain on the side of the micarta. My other one's just a straight black finish and with orange accents. I got to have my orange accents in there, but yeah, I just couldn't. It had the bedazzle, but I couldn't bring myself to just. I'm going to start shooting it now. I'll get it to be my primary bow now. But
yeah.
So
cool, man. Hey, congratulations.
Well, thanks, man.
Leading up to it,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work and a lot of preparation, and you beat COVID, and you were successful. So
COVID free since ¡93.
Dude,
I was born in '87, but
oh please,
I was born in '87, but man, it doesn't sound right. I might have had it before '93. I don't know. Yeah.
No,
so, well, before we jump off, I want to. What's that?
No, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to reiterate that shoot and a few things I'm doing. So if you don't mind, or if you got something else, we'll finish after
Lay
that.
it out.
Okay. Well, that shoot that we were talking about, me and Aaron were talking about. So July 18th and 19th. Too bad you don't live closer. You come up.
I'm gonna be in the Frank Church.
Nice. What are you doing in July? Scouting?
We're gonna go fly fishing. My buddy
awesome.
Gus. Yeah.
Well, you can skip a 3D shoot if you're doing anything else in the outdoors. But if you're going to a parade, you don't get a pass. I've had that excuse.
There's no rallies or parades in my future that I know of.
Yeah, well, I don't think anybody's future. COVID shut that down. But so yeah, anyway, 18th and 19th. It's going to be awesome. We're partnering with Nebraska Traditional Archers and the Alliance Club that lives. It's another club locally here. So we're going to have 3 ranges, 20 targets each, so 60 targets. You come and shoot. Starts at 8 on Saturday morning. We'll close the range down, I think, at 6 that day, and then opens again the next day at 8, and we'll close it down at 2 in the afternoon that day. $15 a day to shoot, which is dirt cheap. And then if you want to be and this is not all trad, this is everybody. There'll be plenty of trad bows there to play with and whatever. We'll have trad stakes and compound stakes. It's going to be a lot of uphill, downhill shots. It's not flat Nebraska. Like people think shoots out here are just flat. We have the Pine Ridge. We set them up uphill, downhill, off of cliffs. Super fun. We are going to have, it's $25 a day to shoot the competition. There'll be, I don't know if they're going to be some cash prizes or just giveaways. I know there's a bow or 2 being given away at this point. A bunch of other prizes. RMS Gear is donating some stuff. South Cox is donating stuff. Man, it's gonna be awesome. I'm sure Kifaru will donate some stuff because Aaron, and that's the other thing. Aaron's coming up, and Tom Klum Senior's coming up, and then also South Cox. So there'll be guys there signing autographs, kissing babies.
Wow.
I'm going to make them do that. Yeah. So it's the legit, dude. They're going to be in there doing their thing. And
man, you know what? I would definitely come down for that. If I didn't have plans, I would definitely come down for that. You and I got to get together sometime. I've already tried with Aaron.
Darn right.
Yeah. Aaron's too busy.
Locking that dude down. Yeah, no, for sure, man. I'm down. Let me know. And this is going to be a deal that we did it last year, and we're going to do it. It's going to be kind of an annual thing. We're going to try to build it kind of like you know, the high country shoot in Colorado. We're just going to try to build it up till it's something awesome, because people don't realize how great it is to shoot out here. You know, they think of Nebraska, like, why would you go out there and shoot when you can shoot in Colorado or wherever? But there's definitely some terrain, and so it's a lot of fun, and there's gonna be a lot of prizes, and yeah, come have your boobies signed by Aaron. You can edit that out if you need to. Ask him to sign your bow. You've never seen a guy so awkward in your life. Like, hey, will you sign my bow? Yeah, he gets super. I've seen him do it a few times, and he's super good with it. But he's just like, why are you wanting me to do? You know, he's so humble, and he doesn't really like people. So it's so funny to watch him do that stuff. It's so funny.
Oh, that's good stuff. I'm not going to touch that. I'm just going to leave it alone.
Oh yeah. Well, and the only other thing I got is by the time this comes out, I'll have it posted on my Instagram. I'm doing a giveaway since I'm so confident in this setup I got my last year's Bob Lee bow. I'm going to actually give it away. So check out my Instagram, and I'm sure the Bob Lee guys and a few other people are going to post it too. So it's a fully set up bow. I got a couple of mountain muffler strings with it. It comes with a Great Northern strap quiver. Basically, it's the exact setup I'm shooting and have been for 2 years. Killed a ton of animals with it last year. Already on pace to break that record this year. I mean, it's a greatest setup. It's going to come with a dozen day 6 arrows, whatever. We'll talk about we'll be able to get you whatever spine you think you need. You know, if you're a longer, shorter draw, it's a 62-inch bow, 54 pounds at 28. So you come with day 6 arrows. I'm going to throw in some trad vanes, and it's going to come with some Evo XLs. So day 6 broadheads. And then I may even throw in, I've got a couple Kifaru packs, so I may weed out a few of them. So there's going to be some gear to be given away.
Cool.
On my page. So cool. Keep an eye on that.
And where do people find you?
What follow all those?
Yeah. What's your page?
Yeah, it's Jake_D_Downs. Like I said, I tried every handle I could, but it's kind of a long one. Aaron gets it wrong half the time. There's a Jake Downs out there that's getting a ton of, he puts stuff on his story, and it's like, it's Jake_Downs, and that's not me, or it's Jake Downs, no underscore, that's not me. I'm just like, it doesn't bother me. I don't care. I'm sure it's funny. This guy's probably not even a hunter. He's like, what is this guy tagging me for?
It's Aaron Snyder's a stalker.
Aaron, yeah, no kidding. You wouldn't want that. You wouldn't want that guy stalking you.
No,
you'd be dead pretty quick.
No, he'd be like, I don't even know her. Why does she keep tagging me? Why don't I even know her?
Right. Yeah, but
cool,
man. We'll go to bed.
All right. You have a great evening, buddy.
You too, man. We'll catch you later.
Roger out.